magic, the blues.
Jimmy Miller, one of Walter Gollander's favorite songs, and this show, the Teddy Smith 7th year reunion, the reunion show was dedicated to Mr. Walter Gollander for all the great years and great people that he's brought into the music business, and he was on the first show that we did here at Jim Petrecca production. Jim Petrecca, I'm going to get this right yet, Jim. Jim Petrecca production, or James Petrecca production, whichever it happens to be. It's wonderful that you're here tonight, Jim, because we had Walter Gollander on the first show back in 2010, and it was a wonderful show with Bill Carey from Channel 11 News and Mr. Dan Ingram, and the list goes on for the last 7 years, and Mr. Joe Franklin, Mr. Steve Guerin as executive producer, sitting right across from me. I'm glad that he's here tonight, and we have wonderful people in the studio. We're going to mention all of them tonight, and thank you for being part of this wonderful experience, and it's just great to have Jim, why don't you come to the microphone for a minute and tell us everything about the history of the Teddy Smith radio show, beginning with Bob O'Brien back in 2010, and it just goes on from there. And of course, the show is dedicated to Joe Franklin and Mr. John Luke we lost this year, and Mr. Andrew Martin, Mark Buniak, the engineer that used to walk through the door and you hear his name in between the ID. This is Multicultural Radio Broadcasting. This is Mark, yes, and as you would know, he would walk through the door and back and forth. Hey, Teddy, the microphone is too loud. Okay, well that's good to know, and just turn it down. Okay, we turned it down. Anyway, we had great moments with Mark, and this has been a great historical moment here on the Teddy Smith 7th year anniversary radio reunion program, a Jim Petrecca production. Now I got it right. Jim, anything you'd like to say about the show or the shows that will be coming in the future or in the past or in the present? It's all yours. Thank you for being part of this
Joe Franklin
wonderful experience.
Joe was the one that sent me to Teddy, because my daughter's a photographer, and he said, go to the radio show, take some pictures. It's good that she'll be able to get some exposure from the guests.
Sure.
Then when I got here, Teddy said, can you bring in some musical groups? So I brought in some amateur groups from New Jersey, just regular bands, and Walk Oliver, rest in peace, said I could get him Don K. Reed. Let's get him a radio guy. So we brought Don K. Reed, and from that point on,
And it's Joey Reynolds.
Joey Reynolds.
Joe Franklin.
Joe Franklin. And then I start bringing them guests from Larry Chance and the Earls, and Mary Wilson and the Supremes. Barbara's been here 3-4 times.
Barbara Harris is right here.
Harris
She's going
is
to
here.
sing tonight. We're going to play her CD also. She's going to
We're
promote
gonna be
a
singing
show
live in the
coming up
studio
next
also.
week.
All right.
But we've had hundreds of guests for the last 7 years. It's like a Rolodex full of
Memories.
memories and music people. And
As,
Christmas time, we have our show every Christmas, and we have a few shows a year at least.
And hopefully it'll just become more and more effective each year that we have great guests like you, Barbara and Steve. Thank you for coming down here tonight, Mr. Steve Guerin and Patrick Van Buren in the back helped out with the show, and John Salvato and all the great Tony Middleton and Barbara Harris and John Scupatelli or Scupoletti or something like that. And Wilbur Harrison Jr. and Jeff Capazzi back there is going to do some singing. He promises you're going to sing one of these days on the show. You bring the guitar and you're going to sing. And we have Rob is right here. Rob is a producer, one of the producers of the program, and I'm glad Rob is here tonight. Rob, it's just great to have you here. You've been on a trip from Toronto back to New York listening to radio stations all over the world, and I'm glad that you could be part of the film festival. And it's whatever you'd like to share with us tonight about the music industry is great.
Well, it's good to be back here. Always enjoy spending time with you at the WPAT studio, and we're surrounded by a lot of great musicians tonight. So it's great to be here.
By the way, you have a great last name. I think I'd like to introduce you. Have you give out your last name?
It's Rob Rinderman.
Rob Rinderman is right here, and hopefully he'll be doing some live programming with us on the next radio show coming up soon. So Rob's gonna and Barbara, I'm glad that you made it down here tonight. It was and you have your husband.
Yes, I brought him along to play the bass for me. Mm-hmm.
Brought me along to drive.
Well, that too.
As long as I have a license, I have a gig.
As long as he has a license, he has a gig.
Yes.
And Tommy on the guitar. He's a
Tommy
good,
on the
good friend
guitar.
of
Hi,
mine.
Tommy.
Yes, good friend of mine. Good
Now,
guitar player.
if you look at this, we call this like radio theater. I mean, if you look at the studio right now, you would probably either want to stay here for a long period of time or run. I'm not sure. Now, if Joe Franklin was here, Steve, what would Joe say to this?
Do I have a hot mic?
Of course, the mics are
Well,
always
see, I haven't
hot.
said anything because I don't have a mic in front of my mouth. And of course, you know, when I have a mic in front of my mouth, you can't shout me. Anyway, Joe would be very happy. As a matter of fact, I think he is here because tonight he said, "Tell Teddy he owes me $10." So,
You pay?
to pay? No. The joke he used to do? To pay.
What do you miss most about Joe?
I miss Joe. You can't describe Joe Franklin. There was only one.
Indescribable.
Yeah,
Will never be one again.
guy.
No.
He did so much for
Everyone.
Yes,
Yeah, he did. He really did.
Right.
He really did.
Even for Jim. See? There you go.
Although, Jim, it could have been it's a curse. Something. No. I'm kidding. Look what you're doing. Look at this guy. No. Teddy's the best, and I thank you for inviting me.
You're the best.
Where's the free pizza you said?
The show wasn't over yet.
Party?
The show's just beginning.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just-
If Joey really shows up, then the party will really be moving
I
here.
don't know. You know, I called him this afternoon. He didn't answer his phone because, you know.
In
I
the
think
meantime,
it's a meatball eating contest. I think he's probably going to go down.
oh yes, the San Gennaro Festival is happening. We're going to go down right after the show. I'm sure we'll either go to Lamella's or some other.
Tony Danza's.
Tony. We'll see Tony Danza down there.
Right, that's
Good.
right.
That's a good thing. Let's play Lover's Concerto. Barbara Harris. We're gonna play your CD right now. Rob, push the button. We still have buttons here at this radio station. It's nice to know that. That's good. That's a good sign. And how about if we push this one? Oh, here it is. There's Barbara Harris on WABC Music Radio, the greatest radio station in the nation, WPAT. Hey, that's live radio, Barbara. Now we're going to have to do some improv. People will remember this moment,
I
but
thought maybe you had a DJ doing something.
That's okay.
I guess we got.
Okay, we're now going to play a version of it when we won't hear it skipping through the dial. WPAT, Barbara Harris. Hello, Tony! Thanks for coming down here.
Find this joint, man.
How are you?
They've dressed it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, to Tony Middleton.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Well, all the old timers are here. Watch out. I don't care.
Jim, what are we going to play next?
We're gonna play
Tony sing? Okay, great.
Hey, listen.
Good to see you, Tony.
I just put the boy down there.
Joey Reynolds.
He's downstairs.
No, I'm trying to call him, man. I was at the 50 yesterday.
He's on ABC Sunday night.
How are you, Tony?
Where?
What song's next, Jim?
I'm gonna go with Churchill.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here. That's all I'm here.
Hey, Tony's here.
But I went there the first time. Okay? They changed it to 40. Then they cut it to 30. It looks beautiful. I'm here the same.
Teddy Smith, a 7-year rock and roll radio reunion party.
I did it for you. This is.
And Tony's here. Tony Middleton is here. And listen to this song here on WPAT Radio.
Listen, I'm going to be at the rock.
Don't hang it on the mic like
Darling, the angels will say
Tony Middleton, WPAT. Tony, I'm glad you made it down here tonight.
Thank you. I'm tired
Thanks
of
for
you guys
coming.
changing. Every time I get down there, I can't find the place.
I guess you probably.
49, 40, 50. What number are we going to put on the building next?
That's a good question. I'm sure you probably didn't recognize the new lobby, did you?
I feel like when I got in the elevator, I thought I was in one of them elevators that say, let's do this thing, what they call it,
Yeah.
beam me up.
Well, certainly the building is under construction. I guess, or something like that.
Well, it's beautiful.
So how you doing?
They should give me $100 million here. Because you getting if it wasn't for you, building wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. So
You afraid to say it? I'll say it for you.
that's nice of
The
you.
building is here because of you.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
Now, is that all right for you guys?
Now, I'd like to know what's happening in your life these days and where
My
you're
life,
playing.
I'm murdering everybody. I'm a hitman now.
You got to make it to Barbara Harris's concert
I'm
next
gonna
week.
make it.
yeah?
I gotta give somebody to get
yes.
there.
Very important. Friday, September 22nd from 8
Wait a
p.m.
minute
to
now.
1 a.m.
Hold
at
it now.
Thomasina's.
Wait a minute, where am I at? I'm gonna be.
Queens, Linden Boulevard.
No, well,
No, you
next
can
Friday,
come and
right?
see me, yeah.
I can't be there. I'm gonna be the
Okay.
22nd. I'm
got
doing the
something.
Roxy.
Okay,
Oh, you know that.
Oh, you're doing the Roxy last
Classy,
week.
you know, classy.
all right.
Okay, so last time I saw you was about maybe about 6 months ago or so. You played, I think, on First Avenue. You were playing
Yeah,
on
but you
59th
cheated. You
Street.
didn't stay long.
No, you know what happened that night? I had to go on the radio somewhere. I had to do a live
That's
show.
always an excuse.
You know, they couldn't wait.
Listen, the world owes you nothing. Don't worry about it. You can come anytime you want.
I like that hat, by the way. It's nice.
I'm gorgeous.
You
I
are.
might really- Looks like him.
So can you believe this show's actually made it for 7 years?
7 years?
It's not that long.
Longer than that.
It's only
Well,
like
it used to be,
the stages.
no. PAT used to be over here
Used to be
on
in,
40th Street.
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly true.
And I played my first record, or one of my records called Let Me Down Easy. Little guy, I forgot the guy's name. But anyway, it's called Let Me Down Easy.